Well, good Thursday morning. It right now it's kind of cool, okay, but it's going to get hot here in Sacramento. Uh, it's kind of crazy, but compared to the weather that I'm hearing is going on in the rest of the country, uh, I should be pretty grateful. Anyway, Constance is off on her bicycle because our car is still getting itself uh, re- repairs sealed up because it's going to start raining here, and it leaks so badly. We're going to have to get our car all sealed up. But she's out on her bicycle because we have a Trader Joe's that's that's pretty close. Okay, it's too far. She shouldn't really be going out that much. But anyway, uh, here here I am. Okay, and I want to talk today about the Gnostic Mass. Now, that's a real generic term for Liber 15, or officially uh, the Mass of the Gnostic Catholic Church, or Ecclesia Gnostica Catholica, which is the official, public, and private ritual of the ecclesiastical branch of the OTO. It's real magic, and it's for many people it's their first introduction to thelemic magic and a thelemic group, because Gnostic masses are open to the public, open to anyone who can behave themselves uh, for about an hour, okay? And it's usually somebody's first introduction to Aleister Crowley uh, and the magic of the OTO. And I'm not exaggerating when I say it's the magic of the OTO, the OTO's kind of magic, the magic that Crowley recognized as expressive of a supreme magical formula. And once Crowley was, I guess, inspired by this formula early on in the early 19 teens, he more or less dedicated his whole magical focus right up until the time of his death on this particular beautiful magical formulae. And you could say it's expressed metaphorically or allegorically in the Gnostic Mass, but that would be incorrect. It is actually being demonstrated right there where your grandmother can come and see it, okay? And there's you could take the different parts of the Gnostic Mass sort of modularly, because it is based generally on the sequence of magical events that take place in the Orthodox Christian Mass, or the Roman Catholic Mass, or the Greek Orthodox Mass, or the Russian Orthodox. Okay, it's a magical formula, and what I'm saying is, the Roman Catholic Mass is a magical event too. Okay, they say it isn't, but it can't be anything but that. Uh, But there's a special newness about the Gnostic Mass that brings it into harmony with the new magical formulae of the aeon this new aeon that we're in. And it doesn't throw out the baby of the power and the significance and the profundity of the older aeon masses. It just tweaks it to bring it into line with the new formula. So I'm going to read you something that Constance and I present in a very lengthy Mass seminar that we've done over the years. And it deals with what is that new tweak, okay? What were the formula or formulae that led up to this? And well, it'll probably be easier if I just start. The laws for all. And as fascinating as the study of thelemic magic may be for many of us, the fact remains that the vast majority of the population will never be attracted to the theories and techniques we're going to discuss in this seminar. Nor should their disinterest in the technical aspects of magic exclude them from embracing the law of Thelema or applying the formulae of the new aeon to their lives. Like the Roman or Orthodox Mass of the Aeon of Osiris, that's the last aeon, the dying god aeon. Like the Roman or Orthodox Mass of the Aeon of Osiris, Liber 15, the Gnostic Mass, serves to bring the community together, to affirm a common creed, and provide an opportunity for all to participate directly in the magical formulae of the age. However, in order for all to participate directly in the magical formulae of the Mass must be celebrated in such a manner as to actually communicate those formulae. And it takes only a slight change of focus on the part of the ritual team or even the congregation to degenerate the Mass from a ceremony of the religion of the future to a ritual that echoes the spiritual formulae of the past. Now, I've got a drawing of a floor plan here, and I'm going to try to juggle it while I show you what's going on. In the East, okay, this is the East, and as you can see, it's laid out, the different things in the temple laid out on a tree of life. The tomb in the west, where the priest is raised from the dead. There's the water font in that position. There's the altar of incense, and the fire altar, we call it. Then there is a dais of 3 steps. I hope you can kind of imagine it. 1, 2, 3, and then there's a veil. That veil gets full. And beyond that veil, there's a couple pillars. There's the high altar. Okay? So that's right up there in Ketters, the high altar. But it's not a big Kabbalistic thing. That's just the temple. That's just the universe this is taking place in. But it does include the priest at the beginning of the Mass is like the Hey final in Yod Hey Vav Hey. The priest is like the little princess, sleeping princess, okay? And the priestess awakens him. And the priestess, she draws a sword, which is like the Ruach section. Okay? She arises him. The mind wakes up the body. Okay? And they go through all sorts of beautiful ceremonial consecrations and blessings and things like that. And because what's going to happen is the priestess is going to help the priest become the Hokmah and make her Bina. Don't even worry about that at the moment, and I'm not communicating it well. In the east, that is the direction of Boleskine, there is a shrine or high altar. This shrine supports the stele of revealing, the book of the law, and the sacred elements of the Eucharist, the host and wine. Okay. The high altar is the focal point of the worship service known as the Gnostic Mass. This is where the magic takes place in the aeon of the crowned and conquering child. Everything that's said and done in the other areas of the temple are merely preparatory acts to the magic that'll take place on the high altar. Now, the high altar is elevated above the rest of the temple. It is set on the top level of a dais of 3 steps. This is the high place of the temple and the appropriate setting for the supreme magical climax of the ceremony. Once the priestess has taken her place upon the high altar, and the veil is drawn before the shrine, the priest ascends to the high altar by the 3 steps of the dais. As he does so, he halts at each step, and he, the priestess, and the deacon poetically reveal the fundamental mystery of this worship service. That is, the formula of worship of the Aeon of Horus, and that it has evolved step by step from the formulae of the 2 previous aeons. Now, at the moment, at this part of the ceremony, the priestess has been enthroned on the high altar, and the priest has drawn a veil, over the altar. The priest can't see the priestess or the altar. The congregation can't see the priestess or the high altar. She has become an unseen mystery. And it is while that veil is pulled, during the speeches that are going to take place, during the priest's speech, and then she'll say a speech too. And when it's her turn to say that speech, she has completely disrobed. She is behind the veil, and everybody knows it, but nobody can see it. She is behind the veil, naked. Once the priestess has taken her seat upon the high altar and the veil is drawn before the shrine, that's when the priest takes the 3 steps, one at a time. Now, we could look at it this way. Now, Constance and I are members of the Sovereign Sanctuary of the Gnosis. okay? But that doesn't mean that we are the be-all and end-all of interpretation of the Gnostic Mass, okay? There are those that look at it a little bit different, okay? So please don't think that we're trying to establish any orthodoxy, at least unduly, okay? The first step represents the aeon of Isis, the age of the goddess, and it is upon the first step that the goddess is worshipped in the Gnostic Mass. Here's where it's a goddess thing. Here the priestess is identified as the goddess Nuit. It's on the first step that the priest sings. Okay, he takes the altar and says, or the first step, and says, "O Nuit, continuous one of heaven, let it be ever thus, that men speak not of thee as one, but as none, and let them speak not of thee at all, since thou art continuous." And it's while he's standing on that first step that he hears the priestess deliver her beautiful, "But to love me is better than all things" speech. Now, I'm going to read you that speech right now, because it's on the first step. He invokes Nuit. This is the goddess worship portion of the Gnostic Mass. And she answers, "But to love me is better than all things. If under the night stars in the desert thou presently burnest mine incense before me, invoking me with a pure heart, and the serpent flame therein, thou shalt come a little to lie in my bosom. For one kiss wilt thou then be willing to give all. But whoso gives one particle of dust shall lose all in that hour. Ye shall gather goods and store of women and spices. Ye shall wear rich jewels. Ye shall exceed the nations of the earth in splendor and pride, but always in the love of me. And so shall ye come to my joy. I charge you earnestly to come before me in a single robe and covered with a rich headdress. I love you, I yearn to you, pale or purple, veiled or voluptuous. I who am all pleasure and purple and drunkenness of the innermost sense desire you. Put on the wings and arouse the coiled splendor within you. Come unto me, to me, to me. Sing the rapturous love song unto me. Burn to me perfumes. Wear to me jewels. Drink to me, for I love you. I love you. I am the blue-lidded daughter of sunset. I am the naked brilliance of the voluptuous night sky. To me, to me. And everyone, the priest and everyone in the room, knows that that song is being delivered by a beautiful naked priestess behind the veil. Now, as worshipers, we could stay on that first step, worshiping the goddess and adhering to her formula forever. Indeed, many people do just that. But we, the children of the Aeon of Horus, adore the goddess not as an end, but as a means. We linger on the first step only long enough to activate the formula of the goddess within ourselves to prepare for a wedding. Only long enough to allow ourselves to be aroused by the essence of her divinity, before stepping up to the next level of worship. Now that would be now the second step. The priest takes the second step. Remember, the veil is still drawn. The second step represents the Aeon of Osiris. Okay, that first step was the Aeon of Isis. That came before Osiris, and Osiris came before Horus. So that whole first step thing was taking advantage of honoring, attuning ourselves with the magical formula before the magical formula that preceded this one. Does that make sense? So the second step represents the Aeon of Osiris, the one that just preceded this one. The age of the dying god. And it's on the second step that the priest is identified as the god Hadit, the inscrutable lover at the very center of the infinite body of Nuit. And here he says, I am the flame that burns in every heart of man and in the core of every star. Because Hadit is the any point event within an infinite body. So if Nuit is infinitely out there, any point within that is also infinitely in there. Okay. And it's on the second step. The priest is identified with the god Hadit, the inscrutable lover at the very center of the infinite body of Nuit. And he says, I am the flame that burns in every man, I am the flame that burns in every heart of man and the core of every star. And reminiscent of Osiris, Krishna, Christ, and every other dying god, he goes on to say, I am life and the giver of life, yet therefore is the knowledge of me, the knowledge of death. Now, as worshipers, we could stay on the second step, worshiping the dying God and adhering to his formula forever. Indeed, many people do just that. But we, the children of the Aeon of Horus, adore the dying God, not as an end, but as a means. We linger on the second step only long enough to activate the formula of the dying God within ourselves. Only long enough to snatch the vibrating pulse of life and death from the patriarchal Lord in order to prepare for a wedding. A wedding we'll celebrate on the third and final step. And that final step is directly in front of the veil. Now, you can probably guess that that veil is going to be pulled so the climax of the ceremony can take place. And in the Crowley's directions in the ritual, when the veil gets, well, I'll tell you that in a second. Hang on. We'll talk about the third step. It's upon the third step that we achieve synthesis. It's upon the third step that the mystical marriage will be consummated. It's upon the third step the true object of worship will appear, Rahur Kuit, the crowned and conquering child, the child of the goddess and the god of the last two aeons. We give thanks and respect to the goddess and priestess who embodies her. But at the end of the Mass, it's not the goddess whom we worship. It's not the goddess whom we adore. It's not the goddess with whom we commune. We give thanks and respect to the God and the priest who embodies him. But at the end of the Mass, it's not the God who we worship. It's not the God whom we adore. It's not the God with whom we commune. As we'll soon see, the Mass of the Gnostic Catholic Church is an enactment of a great and wonderful magical secret. The goal of this secret is the creation of a child. Whether that child is a material or emotional object of your heart's desire, or knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel. It's true, without the goddess and the god, the child would not be born. But those who would treat the Gnostic Mass as a ceremony of goddess worship are missing the point entirely. With all the other worshippers of the Aeon of Isis, they cannot rise above the first step of worship. Those who would relegate the Gnostic Mass to a ceremony of phallus worship are also missing the point entirely. Like worshippers of the Aeon of Osiris, they cannot rise above the second step of worship. At the end of the ceremony, each of us should be standing spiritually on the third step of worship. Our attention focused with full concentration, not upon the priestess, not upon the priest, but upon the child, as embodied in the host and wine. Now, only those who have achieved, then transcended the arousal of the goddess, only those who have achieved, then transcended the concentrated potency of the god, only those who have annihilated both goddess and God in the ecstasy can stand on the third spiritual step and consume, then become the child of their union. Only those who have taken the third spiritual step are worthy to be called worshippers of the Aeon of Horus. Now, all sorts of wonderful things take place after the veil is drawn. Crowley says in savage countries, priestess is re-robed before, but we all know that during the important arousal period, we all know in the mystery that she is disrobed. But anyway, that's my little story for today upon the Gnostic Mass and the 3 steps of worship. And just as I said, members of the Sovereign Sanctuary all have a little different take on it, but that's my observation on the 3 steps section of Liber 15, the Mass of the Gnostic Church. Well, until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love and will.